Okay, so yesterday during our theory session, we discussed about the applications of comparator, op-amp as a comparator, and that was Smith trigger, right? Then previous to that Smith trigger, we discussed about zero crossing detector, that is ZCD. There are a few limitations with ZCD, that is if the input signal frequency is somewhat low, or if noise signal is available, then unnecessarily transition between plus VSAT and minus VSAT occurs in case of ZCD. So to overcome it, the another circuit is designed and developed, and that is titled as Smith trigger. Okay, its detail working and all that we already discussed. So one part of that Smith trigger was remaining, and that is nothing but hysteresis loop or hysteresis curve. That hysteresis curve, it looks somewhat like this. So the shown curve, this is in for ideal case or op-amp having a very high slew rate. If the op-amp have somewhat low slew rate, then the transition between these two levels, that is nothing but plus VSAT okay, and these vertical lines, it becomes somewhat tilted, okay, for practical op-amp or having the slew rate somewhat low slew rate, okay, and the shown one, this is for ideal case, okay. So the transition occurs between plus VSAT and minus VSAT. That respective points are known as VUT and VLT. What is that VUT and VLT? That also yesterday we discussed. That is nothing but threshold voltages. Okay, so that VUT, yesterday we derived that formula VUT equals to R1 divided by R1 plus R2 into plus VSAT. And VLT, that is nothing but lower threshold voltage, equals to again R1 by R1 plus R2. That is the feedback factor beta of that feedback network, and into minus VSAT, that is for VLT. Okay. So see, if that Vin, not Vin, suppose the output is plus VSAT, then how that transition occurs? Whenever that input voltage it reaches to upper threshold voltage, that is VUT, then the transition between plus VSAT to minus VSAT it occurs, right? And later on it remains at minus VSAT until that threshold voltage it goes to VLT. And when it goes to VLT, the output voltage from minus VSAT to 0 and 0 to plus VSAT it occurs, right? So as per this curve, hysteresis curve, we can determine hysteresis voltage, which is denoted by VHY. VHY equals to VUT minus VLT. And as we know what is VUT, that is nothing but R1 divided by R1 plus R2 as per our circuit diagram into plus VSAT minus VLT is minus R1 by R1 plus R2 into minus VSAT. So that you can modify the same formula as equals to take that R1 by R1 plus R2 common. In bracket, you will have plus VSAT minus of VSAT. That's all. So By using this formula, you can easily find out the hysteresis voltage for that Schmitt trigger. Okay. Now see, as per our previous circuit diagram and that discussion, lower threshold voltage and upper threshold voltage, it gets decided by resistors R1 and R2, right? That's why in terms of magnitude, the level of that threshold voltage is same, right now? The magnitude is same. And that's why whatever hysteresis we will get, that will be symmetrical about that origin. That means the distance between origin to VLT and origin to VUT, that will be equal. But if we want a symmetrical Schmitt trigger, see, as per that previous circuit diagram, as we are getting that VLT and VUT in terms of magnitude equal, we can call that Schmitt trigger as a symmetrical Schmitt trigger because its VUT and VLT are equal in terms of their magnitudes. Okay. But if we want a symmetrical Schmitt trigger, that means VUT and VLT should not be same. Then how we can design it, or will it be possible? The answer is yes. So how that a symmetrical Schmitt trigger is designed, or VLT and VUT to get different or small changes there in that Schmitt trigger circuit. Only we have to change the feedback factor. I will draw that R1 as it is, which we preferred in that symmetrical Schmitt trigger like this. Same R2 I will redraw over here, and we will going to add somewhat DC source like this. Okay. I will call this one as, suppose, VDC, and remaining things as it is. That means input signal to the inverting terminal, which is a time varying signal. Yesterday I taken it as a sinusoidal signal. Okay, so this is known as a symmetrical Schmitt trigger, right? So why it is known as a asymmetrical Schmitt trigger? You will observe VLT is equals to, as per our that previous formula, lower threshold voltage was equals to R1 divided by R1 plus R2, right now. Into that obtain output voltage either plus Vsat or minus Vsat. So for VLT, that output voltage was, we taken it was minus Vsat, right? So minus Vsat will be there as a source, but see at this node, how much will be the voltage? That voltage will not be only by the voltage divider, right? Here I can write it like this, minus Vsat as it is. Okay. Now, as it is a negative and the dedicated DC source available, it is a plus VDC as per the polarity. We have to consider it as it is. That is nothing but plus VDC, right? While VUT, it will be equals to, again same, that is R1 divided by R1 plus R2 into plus Vsat plus VDC. So see, you will observe over here, this VLT, it will get decreased, right now, because this term will be negative term. Negative plus somewhat positive DC voltage, right? So this VLT, it will get reduced, while VUT, it will get increased, and hence that hysteresis curve, it will get shifted towards the first quadrant, right now. VUT, it will get increased, VLT will get decreased. So we'll take one example for the proper understanding purpose. Shall I take example for that symmetrical Schmitt trigger? Just let me know from your side. Shall I take the example for symmetrical Schmitt trigger? Is it visible properly, Blackboard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So shall I take example for symmetrical Schmitt trigger or directly go for this asymmetrical? Okay. I will explain it for asymmetrical first of all, and then later on, if you want, then I will go for symmetrical. Okay. See, just consider, let that VDC equals to 1 volt, this one as a dedicated DC source. R1 is equals to, suppose it is 10 kilo ohm. R2, if it is equals to again 10K, plus minus VCCs are suppose 12 volts, and therefore plus minus VSAT 90% of VCC, that means it will be equals to 10.8 volts, right? So see, the node voltage formed by R1 and R2 only when the output will be minus VSAT and it will be equals to VLT, right? Whenever output will be minus VSAT, the node voltage that we are calling it as a threshold voltage, and that is nothing but VLT. Okay, it will be how much? Only by R1 and R2, it will be 5.4 volts. See, if you put it over here, 10K divided by 20K, then it will be 0.5 into minus VSAT. Minus VSAT is 10.8, so it's half. It will be 5.4, right? It will be minus 5.4. That will be equals to, see, 10K divided by 20K into minus 10.8 and plus VDC. Plus VDC, we taken it as a 1 volt. So this VLT, it will be how much? It will be 4.4, minus 4.4. Just try it at your end. Similarly, VUT, it will be again 10K divided by 20K into plus 10.8, that is plus VSAT, and plus 1 volt. So it will be equals to 5.4 plus 1. So it will be plus 6.4 volts. So this will be your VUT, right? And that hysteresis curve, it will be somewhat like this. It will not be symmetrical about the origin. Plus VSAT, VUT, it will be more. That is nothing but 6.4 as per our example. And this one, that is VLT. Just a minute. I have to draw because that saturation levels are equal. So this is nothing but VLT, which is minus 4.4 volts. This is our VO plus VSAT. As per our example, 90% of VCC, so it will be plus 10.8, and this one will be minus 10.8. And this is the origin, right? So as that hysteresis curve, it will not be symmetrical about that origin. That's why such type of Schmitt trigger is known as asymmetrical Schmitt trigger. And here we can again calculate that lastly discussed point, that is nothing but VHY. that is hysteresis voltage, it will be equals to VUT minus VLT, and that is nothing but 6.4 minus 4.4, and that will be equals to 10.8 volts. Yes, it will be 10.8 volts. That is the hysteresis voltage. So you can calculate that hysteresis voltage for symmetrical also. Just add that VUT and VLT, and that is nothing but that VHY. Correct? So I think you might have understood properly and details about that Schmitt trigger. That is symmetrical Schmitt trigger as well as asymmetrical Schmitt trigger. Okay. Now we'll go for the next application, and that is nothing but square wave generator. Again, there are two subtypes for this square wave generator, that is symmetrical. Yes, in it out. Symmetrical square wave generator and asymmetrical square wave generator. So first of all, we'll see symmetrical square wave generator, and then we'll go for asymmetrical. This circuitry, it is also known as a stable multivibrator or free running oscillator. So as we are calling it as an oscillator, the same concept which we studied in our previous unit by using the MOSFET as an oscillator, same concept will be there, and that is nothing but no input signal. Without any input, that circuitry should work, or it will go on to work as a oscillator, or it will go on to generate a square wave. As it is an oscillator, we have to prefer positive feedback, and that's why this terminal should be a non-inverting. This one as a inverting, we will call it as resistor R1, and this one as resistor R2. And there will be again node voltage, that is VT, threshold voltage. So these two components are important. Being a oscillator, I will call this one as C1, this one as okay, we'll call it as R3, because R1 and R2 are already available. So at its output, we will get a symmetrical square wave having its amplitude that will get decided by the closed loop gain, and almost it will be plus minus Vsat. So the generated wave, it will be a square wave with amplitude of plus minus Vsat, and its frequency of oscillation, that will be dependent on values of R3 and C1, which are used in the feedback part. Okay. See, same as that of Schmitt trigger, resistor R1 and R2 forms a voltage divider. So initially, whatever may be the output voltage due to the offset voltage, either plus Vsat or minus Vsat, accordingly this threshold voltage will get generated, and by that nature of threshold voltage, nature of means either negative or positive, the output of op-amp, it will get force either to plus Vsat or minus Vsat, and later on how it will go on to work, that I will explain. So see, initially, first thing you have to note, there is no any input signal, and that's why we are calling it as oscillator. Okay, don't draw any input signal source, otherwise that circuitry we can't call it as a square wave generator or oscillator or a stable multivibrator, right? So initially, consider there is somewhat offset voltage, as it is our discussion is for practical op-amp. Then for practical op-amp, there is somewhat offset voltage, right? Now that various parameters we already studied during our practical related to op-amp, first practical related to op-amp. So because of some offset voltage, that offset voltage, it may be positive or it may be negative, right now. So we consider there is somewhat positive offset voltage. Whenever we will be going to turn on this circuitry, that means we will be going to power this circuitry by plus minus VCC applied to pin number 7 and 4, okay, it will be going to generate somewhat output offset voltage. Our consideration, first consideration is that output offset voltage is positive in nature, okay. So when that output offset will be positive, it will be few millivolts, okay, but it will be there. Ideally it is 0, but practically somewhat either positive or negative in millivolts, that is available. So due to that output offset voltage, there will be somewhat VT, and the nature of that VT, it will be again positive. So how much will be VT? That VT will be equals to that output offset voltage into R2 divided by R1 plus R2, simply by voltage divider rule, okay. So as that VT, it will be positive, correct, and as the positive feedback is used, because of positive feedback, gain gets increased, that we know. So the output of this op-amp, it will get immediately force 2 plus Vsat, okay, because of this initial condition during the starting of this circuitry, that VO, it will get force 2 plus Vsat, right. Now see, when that output will get force 2 plus Vsat, what will be going to happen with this capacitor? As there is one feedback resistor connected over here, the capacitor will start to charge. See, I will show here that waveform so that it will be very clear to you. Initially, I consider that output voltage, it gets force 2 plus Vsat like this. It will remain plus Vsat, okay. And the capacitor also will start to charge positively, that means with the polarity like this, because of slop current through resistor R3 through capacitor C1, okay. I will show that waveform also, so that capacitor will start to charge like this. This is nothing but waveform for charging of capacitor. Now, as initially, before turning on the circuitry, that VC we consider 0 volts. That capacitor initially it was completely discharged capacitor. That means voltage across that capacitor is 0 volts. But when we turn on the supply and output will get force 2 plus Vsat, this C1 it will start to charge like this from 0 to onward. Okay. Now see, when Vc will get reached to Vt, this threshold voltage. Okay. When Vc, that is voltage across capacitor, will reach equals to the node voltage, which is formed by R1 and R2, which is equals to Vsat into R2 divided by R1 plus R2, right? When Vc will be equals to Vt, what will be going to happen? The differential voltage, differential input voltage, it will become 0 volts. VID will become 0. That is nothing but the potential difference between non-inverting and inverting terminals. VID will become 0 volts, and when that VID will become 0 volts, what will happen with the output? Output will become 0. VO will get switched to 0 volts. Correct. When VO will become 0, what will be the effect on VT? Okay, I will write it like this so that flow you can note it properly. VID will be 0 volts, right? When VID will be 0, then VO will become 0 volts. When VO will become 0 volt, then VT, it will be again 0 volt. Correct? Now, see, when VT will become 0, capacitor is already charged to somewhat its particular level, that is VC, and the polarity is as shown. That means positive towards the inverting terminal. Okay. Just consider that time period at which VT goes to 0. That means non-inverting terminal, it becomes 0, and inverting terminal, it is the energy stored by capacitor. That is nothing but VC. Right? It gets decided by output saturated voltage into, or it gets decided by the time duration to get charged, that capacitor C1 from its 0 level to VC, it gets decided by resistor R3. Okay. You might be familiar with that RC time constant for the capacitor. Okay. So when VT will become 0, that VID, it will be negative VC. See, that differential input voltage, it will be equals to VC, minus of VC. Why minus of VC? Because that VID is nothing but potential at the inverting terminal, non-inverting terminal minus potential at the inverting. So potential at the inverting is VC. So 0 minus VC. That's why I written it as minus VC. Correct? And therefore, because of the energy stored by this capacitor, which is applied to the inverting terminal, output immediately will get forced to minus VSAT. Correct? Now again I will write here VO, it will get switched to minus VSAT. So see that output voltage immediately will get forced to minus VSAT. This is nothing but plus VSAT. Correct? Now, when output will get forced to minus VSAT, this VT, it will be negative. Right now? Because of this output as minus VSAT, VT, it will become negative. Now see, capacitor is at positive potential, VT is at negative. That means the inverting terminal is dominant, and hence that output will remain minus VSAT. Now up to how much time period that output will remain minus VSAT, that we will discuss. So when output will get forced to minus VSAT, this capacitor C1, it will start to discharge through resistor R3 towards the output. That means discharging of capacitor, it will start somewhat like this. And at a particular stage, it will go to 0 volts. This capacitor C1, it will get completely discharged to 0. But still, output will remain minus VSAT. Why? Because this VT, it is negative. While the voltage at inverting terminal is 0 volt. And that's why it will remain dominant as compared to that VT. And therefore, output will remain minus VSAT. Right? Later on, once that capacitor will get completely discharged through resistor R3 and output is minus VSAT, now the capacitor will start to charge with somewhat opposite polarity like this, because of output is minus VSAT. Correct? Or the voltage across that capacitor, it will be somewhat more negative like this. Now see again, when voltage across capacitor will be equals to voltage at this node, that is VT, both are negative now. Correct? When that VC1 will be equals to VT again negatively, the differential voltage, it will become 0. I will show it somewhat over here. Okay. So see, at this time period, the voltage across capacitor, it goes to equals to VT, both are negative. The differential voltage will become 0 volts, and hence the output of op-amp, it will get forced to 0. VO will become 0. Correct. When VO will become 0, now see what will going to happen, that VT will be 0. Right. Now VT is 0, while the potential at the inverting terminal, that is nothing but voltage stored by capacitor, it is negative. And that's why this 0 volt will be dominant. And hence the output of op-amp, it will get forced to plus Vsat. Like this. Again, output will goes to plus Vsat. Now see, next, what will happen? When output will get forced to plus Vsat, capacitor is negatively charged, and that's why it will start to discharge towards the output again. So the discharging of capacitor, it will be going to take place somewhat like this. At a particular time period, capacitor across, voltage across that capacitor will become 0. Non-inverting terminal is at positive VT. That's why output will remain plus Vsat. That's why I've shown that output voltage plus Vsat when capacitor voltage goes to 0. Now, as output is plus Vsat, again this capacitor will start to charge with just like a first cycle, that is nothing but positive over here and negative towards the ground. So this capacitor will start to again charge somewhat like this. And when voltage across that capacitor will reach to equals to VT, both will be positive now, but when that VC1 will be equals to VT, VID will become 0. So I will show it like this. So that output will go to 0. Again, this capacitor will start to discharge and that cycle will get repeated. So somewhat we have to show it like this. So see, what is the nature of output? This is nothing but our output waveform. This is nothing but capacitor voltage waveform, that is VC. So the nature of output is a square wave. And that's why it is known as a square wave generator. As there is no any input signal, we can call it as a stable multi-vibrator or free running oscillator. So I think you might have understood it properly, right? So you will observe the time duration for the negative half cycle and positive half cycle, it is equal, right? And that's why it is known as a symmetrical square wave generator or symmetrical stable multi-vibrator. Its T on and T off are equal, right? But and that T on and T off, it gets decided by RC time constant of R3 and C1, because the capacitor gets charged through R3 as well as it gets discharged through R3 only. So the charging and discharging time, it decides the on and off period. As a same resistor is there for the charging purpose of capacitor as well as for the discharging of that capacitor, the same resistor is used, we can say its charging and discharging time will be equal. And as it will be equal, we can say its T on is equals to T off. Correct? Now, if we want a symmetrical square wave generator, asymmetrical means what? Its on period, it should not be equal to off period. That means we have to change the charging and discharging period of the capacitor. So what we can do, it's very simple. Just instead of a single resistor, use here two resistors through diodes. So I will show here. Suppose this is my first R3 connected through the diode like this. Diode D1, I will call it as D1, and another one more resistor I will call it as R3 dash through the another diode, but opposite in direction as compared to the first. We will call it as D2. So see, you will observe here, whenever output will be plus Vsat, the capacitor will start to charge as per our discussion. What will be the path of that charge, what will be the charging path for this capacitor? Whenever output will be plus Vsat, you will observe diode D1 will be forward bias while D2 will be reverse. As D2 will be reverse, it will not going on to conduct, or it will going on to act as an open circuit. So there is no role of R3 dash. And as D1 will be forward, we can say the current will go on to flow through D1 through R3 and capacitor will charge like this. Correct? Similarly, whenever output will go to 0 volt, because Vc will be equals to Vt, output goes to 0, and whenever output will goes to 0, this path it will get open. Why it will get open? Because diode D1, its anode terminal will get 0 potential, while its cathode terminal will get somewhat positive potential. That is the energy stored by capacitor C1. Okay, and later on, what will happen? The output gets switched to minus Vsat as per our discussion. Okay, so when that output will get switched to minus Vsat, that diode D1 it remains highly reverse biased because its anode will be at minus Vsat and its cathode it will be at plus Vc. Now you will observe diode D2 it will become highly forward biased. When output will get switched to minus Vsat, diode D2 its cathode terminal is connected to the output which is at minus Vsat, while its anode of D2 it is connected to plus Vc, and hence the discharging path of capacitor it will get decided by resistor R3. Okay. Now you will observe if R3 is not equal to R3 dash, if these two resistors are not equal, then what will happen? The charging and discharging time will be different. And when charging and discharging time it will be different, we can say the generated square waveform it will not be symmetrical. Symmetrical, not be symmetrical means what? Its on period and off period it will be different. Suppose this one is the off period and this one is the on period. And as we are considering that R3 is not equals to R3 dash, means what? The charging time and discharging time will be different. Is it? So simple. So see, if we want P on somewhat greater than P off, now if possible from your side, just let me know R3 should be greater than R3 dash or should be less than R3 dash. Can anyone? Already I explained the working. See, during T on, capacitor starts to charge. As per this waveform, right now, whenever output is plus Vsat, the charging of capacitor takes place. Charging of capacitor, it is through diode D1. Right now. While discharging of capacitor, it is through R3 dash. And what we want T on greater than T off. That means the capacitor it should take much more time to get charged, equals to Vt, threshold voltage, this one. As compared to its discharge, T off should be smaller than T on. That means the discharging of capacitor it should take place fastly. And whenever it will get discharged fastly, it will be going to reduce its off period, that is T off. Correct. So it's very simple now. If R3 is greater than R3 dash, so see, that means R3 dash is small. Whenever it will be small, fast discharging will take place, right? Or when R3 will be large, it will go on to refill that capacitor somewhat slowly. That means its on period will get increased, while off period will get decreased. And hence, the obtained waveform for such type of generator, square wave generator, it will be somewhat like this. Its on period is greater than off period. And we can call such type of oscillator as a asymmetrical oscillator or asymmetrical square wave generator. Right? So the frequency of oscillation, that is nothing but T on plus T off. If we consider the symmetrical one, this is nothing but capital T, which is equals to T on plus T off. You will observe again it gets decided by that resistor, feedback resistor and input capacitor. Okay. So if here we can say for symmetrical one, if the value of that resistor is somewhat small, that means the charging will take place fastly, as well as discharging also will get or takes place fastly. That means that signal will get compressed, and hence what we can say the frequency will be more. Or to increase the frequency of oscillation in this circuitry, at this point we can conclude the resistor should be small. That feedback resistor it should be small. Or to have the somewhat low frequency, the resistor value it should get increased. Okay. Now the last topic is triangular wave generator. That triangular wave generator is very simple. It is a combination of square wave generator and integrator. That's why I will not go on to draw it over here. That will be at your end. Square wave generator is already available. So at its output, simply connect the integrator. And already we done that practical also yesterday. We observed whenever the input to the integrator is a square wave, its output is integration of that square, that is triangular wave. Okay. But the requirement is what? The input square wave frequency, it should be between FA to FB of that integrator. Then and then it will going on to integrate it as a triangular wave. Otherwise, if signal frequency is less than FA, then the output of that integrator, it will be simply just like a amplifier. Or if the input signal frequency of that integrator is greater than FB, then attenuation in the output takes place of that triangular wave. It remains as a triangular, but its attenuation takes place because the gain of that integrator, it goes below 0 dB or less than 1, that is absolute gain, right? So as an assignment just takes place, just consider here symmetrical square wave generator and its output connected to the integrator. Okay, and then just observe the output of that integrator, it will be a triangular wave. And hence we can title that generator as triangular wave generator. So that you have to prepare by yourself.